Good day, everyone. Welcome to our Certified Australian White Genetics Educational Zoom meeting. My name is Doug Edge, and I am Director of the RSG Foundation, also an Australian White sheep breeder myself. And we're going to kind of kick things off. I'm going to share my screen real quick so you can see what we're talking about here. As you log in, you will be on mute. If you do have questions throughout the meeting, we do have a large number of people that have registered for this meeting. So we will have to use the chat feature just so everybody doesn't talk over each other. Those of you who aren't familiar, we launched earlier this year the Certified Australian White Genetics website at CAWG.US. We are not endorsed by any breed association. This is a joint effort with Tatakill and the RSG Foundation. And we've got lots of good information on here about imports. We'll get to some of that here in just a moment. And then there's also a lot of information here in terms of the breed itself and eating quality. And we have a blog. There's a few posts on there as well. Some articles and different informative things that you can read. But the most important thing I want to feature is our member farms. And you can post your farm if you're an Australian white breeder or getting into the breed and new to it. You can post your farm here on the member farms. It's free to do that. That way we can help connect folks with other farms across the country that are breeding Australian white. We've got a few folks that have put their farm up there already. So we invite you to do that at CAWG.US. I want to also get to our first guest on our Zoom this evening is Bobby Grider. And Bobby serves as the president of the Australian White USA organization. Are you seeing that website now, Bobby? Your website?
Yes.
Okay. Good. So Bobby, I want to first of all thanks for being on with us here this evening.
I appreciate you guys inviting me. It's a pleasure anytime we get to talk about the Australian white to everyone. So a little bit about the association. We've had a tremendous growth along with the sheep, and it's representing how well the sheep is taking a hold across the U.S. according to our membership and everything. So right now, we got some really good plans coming up. I know in 2027, next year, we got some plans out there. But first of all, I want to speak about October the 3rd. In 2026, we got a field day scheduled for the Australian whites, and it'll be here at my farm in Kentucky. You'll find all kinds of information on that online. And we'll have a lot of guest speakers, and you can lay your eyes and hands on some Australian whites if you haven't done that so far. And during that field day, we're going to start involving our youth. That's the future of all this, right? So old-timers like myself won't be around forever. So we're going to start involving our youth in some youth programs and maybe some speaking contests and so forth about their sheep and their farm activities with some reward, of course. You got to reward the kids when they work with you. So we're real excited. And if you're not a member of the AWUSA, I'd like to take this time to invite you to be a member. And you can find your information online. We got a brand new website that's just about to kick off. Should be up and running in just a very few days. And we'll have all kinds of bells and whistles on it that you can pay online and deal with. And our online registry. We're using it right now. Our board members are using it right now just to test run it to make sure everything's working proper. So it's going to be up and running, and our DNA is working well. So we're a busy association, a positive association with one direction, and that's forward.
That's awesome. Well, Bobby, I think I'm probably one of your newest members. Mailed in my registration. You and I've talked a few times, and really that process was very easy to get the forms filled out and mailed in, and you guys make the process fairly simple. So really do appreciate that, and excited to be a member of your group now. And for those that are wondering that we've sold a lot of semen on one particular buck, and I know a lot of folks want to get those animals registered with you all, and they're able to do that. Those pedigrees have been sent in now, and we're good to go. So thank you for your efforts there. And I know myself and my family and our folks that we've helped introduce the breed to here in the U.S. are excited to be part of your group.
Well, certainly appreciate you showing the confidence in us, Doug, and it's very appreciative. I really thank you very much. Anything that we can ever do for anybody, just reach out to us. Any of the board members got a great board, and anybody's willing to help you find your direction, whatever you need. And then I can always reach out to Graham for advice. And so it's really a close-knit family. We thank you very much.
That's awesome. So thanks, Bobby. And Bobby will stay on. If you do have questions about the association, as I mentioned earlier, we've just had a number of other folks join in here in the last few minutes while we've kicked this meeting off. I think we're up to about 85 now. There's over 150 that registered for this meeting. I know a lot of folks register, so they'll get the recording. We are recording this. I do want to mention that. We'll post this up on YouTube and share that back out with folks. So if you do have to jump off early or miss part of the meeting, don't worry about that. We'll have all that there for you. But if you do have questions about AWUSA, feel free to post those in the chat. Bobby can address those, and we can get to those in the Q&A section of our meeting here. So exciting times. It's great to have an association that has a good-sized board, that has good representation across the country, and is eager to grow this group. I want to introduce Graham Gilmore to everyone. Graham is the founder of the Australian White breed in Australia. Tatakill Farms should be well known to many of you, but if you're new to the breed or you're just checking it out for the first time here this evening with us, Graham is the guy. And I can tell you firsthand, I had a chance to visit him and his family with my wife, Lisa, and his wife, Kirsty. We had a great time about a year ago. I was there in Australia, saw these sheep up close and personal, got a great tour, got to eat some Australian white, best lamb by far I've ever eaten in my life. And Graham developed this breed many years ago and has been working very hard at developing the quality, the eating qualities, the genetic traits that we're now enjoying here in the U.S. And I'm excited to work with Tatakill in bringing in more genetics. We just got a new tank of imported embryos at RSG at our headquarters in Lebanon, Indiana, about a month ago. And I think those Graham will give us an update, but I think a lot of those embryos are about gone now. And we've got plans to bring in more and to continue to help folks get those embryos in and continue to advance the breed. So, Graham, thanks for being on with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you very much. Welcome to everybody. Thanks so much, everyone, for getting onto this Zoom. We really appreciate it from this end. Excuse me I will be looking at some notes because I don't want to miss some items that I need to actually speak upon tonight. But the first thing is what Doug was talking about is the embryos. For those of you that have been waiting for the invoices are being done while we speak. Kirsty's compiling those invoices now. The reason that I've just held back a little bit is to try and coordinate to get a lot of these embryos going to the same embryologists or same places that we will cut down on the costs of tanks moving all over America. So, and there has been a little slow on confirming the purchase of the orders. There was 1,033 embryos that came in, and there's probably absolute maximum 150 of those left. There will be more embryos coming, but they may mostly already be sold, and they'll be coming in the next month or two. So that's where it sits on it. I'm very appreciative of all those people that have purchased embryos, and we're very, very happy to get feedback any way that we can. So as Doug said, if there's any questions on that, if people want to post a question, I'm happy to answer any of those questions as we go. It would be obviously a problem for everyone to be clicking on and off on on their microphone. It's going to get a lot of background noise. So if you have any questions, please post them, and Doug will be watching those, and I'll answer those as we go. That's about got that side covered, Doug. You're happy with that explanation? Yeah. I spent a lot of time yesterday trying to allocate a good spread of genetics to everyone. So I've done my very best on that. The second item that I want to bring up is around the breed standards. There's been a lot of confusion around that. Nobody's actually asked me for a printed copy of the breed standards. So there is a pictorial on the breed standards that are on the Australian website, and they're probably on a couple of others as well. But they're the ideal sheep. That's my idea of the ideal sheep. It doesn't mean every animal's got to look like what the pictorial is. So to give you an example, the Australian-wide sheep breed standards were presented to the first AGM that we had back in 2011, from memory. They sat on the table for 12 months for people that were members to add anything they wanted into it, of which they were then passed in 2012 at the AGM. So what is pretty disappointing, not pretty disappointing, extremely disappointing, is what's been running around on social media. Most of it around pigment on the Australian white. So just so that people do realise what the breed standards are, on the feet side, it was always the case the hoof-horn may be black, dark grey, or bone coloured, depending on preference. So that was always written into the breed standards. When it comes to pigmentation, pigmentation was the nose and skin around the anus and vulva, like the feet colour, black, dark, or pink, depending on preference. Colour of the coat was always the Australian white as a white sheep, may only exhibit a few small black spots on ears, legs, and around the head. Light lemon fawn coloured patches on the body are permissible but undesirable, and which, when taken together, may not exceed 10 centimetres in total circumference. Any other colour patch is not permitted. So for the questions where people ask me, are sheep able to be registered if they don't have a black nose or a dark nose, the answer is that's up to your breed society. So there's no saying that the breed societies in America have to have the same rules as what they are in Australia. So that I hope would clear up some of the misinterpretation. It's with I'm not comfortable on even mentioning this, but pretty disappointing that two of the founding members of the AWSBA have been posting pretty slanderous comments online, knocking the breed. I've never witnessed anything like this in all my life. I've spent a lifetime in the sheep industry. I have never seen a secretary and a past president attacking a breed that they are still involved with on social media. It's unprecedented. I really, it's very difficult to even suggest to answer some of the slanderous things they've put on there. There's even suggestions of them being sued. Well, certainly we're not suing them. The more they say, the more ridiculous they're making themselves out to be. It's not normal behaviour. I can't understand why that breed society's allowed it to go on. And as a result of this, and it's obviously Luke Jones and Sonia, the secretary, what they've been saying online, I don't want any association with them or with that association. So I have withdrawn. Initially, I withdrew the sale of the embryos from them because I wanted the embryos to be available to everybody, which they now are. And I didn't believe that it was good for somebody else to be in charge of where our embryos went. So once that's been removed, then I find out all these supposed genetic defects that are in the Australian whites. I'd like to know how these couple of people that are posting this are all of a sudden such experts. I don't understand why they've done it, because I have withdrawn all support from that association. I haven't wanted to do that, but their comments have made me do that. You can't slander Taddy Curl, myself. Taddy Curl is a collective group, is a family operation, and you're also attacking the Australian white breed. It's not doing any damage in Australia because most Australians are laughing at it. I think most Americans probably are too, but this is almost like the reaction of a bee. When a bee stings you, they leave the stinger in, which lasts for a little while and you get over it, but the bee dies. And basically what these two have done is like a reaction of a bee. The more they find out, the more they react, and I expect them to react again. But suggesting that that a little bit of lack of pigment around the nose or something like that is a genetic fault or a genetic trait is just beyond belief. So it really does hurt me to have to do this, particularly with Luke, because he's had a rough time, and I don't want to have to do it. But you can only poke a bear so long, and this is my reaction. I just divorced myself from the association. I don't want any association with it at all. So I want to leave that alone for now. I just can't. I just cannot believe that it's happened. I've been involved in sheep breeding in a lot of different continents with a lot of different sheep. I expect competition. I expect pushback from other breeds. I cannot believe that two people in that position could have pushback from within the breed. It's just unhinged. And I expect that it'll probably still continue. But at least I've had my say in it. I don't use social media for negative comments. I use them for positive comments. Promotion is part of social media, is part of promotion. We can't take ourselves away from that. So that's all I want to say on that issue. Very disappointing. I've divorced myself from it. Can't do any more. Most of what they're saying is ignorance. Then, like even the suggestion that we have flushed sheep on this property that are not purebred sheep or cull sheep that we've exported, like that's insulting. We have an on-farm collection centre that's registered with the Australian government. We can send to most countries in the world. We have a veterinarian that's in charge of that in Simon Bell. He would lose his veterinary certificate. I would lose the registration if we were not abiding by the rules, which is we flush pedigreed stud sheep. And we've done that all the way along. The misinformation out there is beyond belief. That has not happened. And people that allow this on their websites, I don't know what the answer to that is. But anyway, that's what happens here. When it comes down to ordering embryos, now the embryos have to be ordered through Taddy Curl, which is a pretty simple process. A lot of you that I've seen online have embryos ordered or have got embryos in the past. I am aware that some people haven't received pedigrees on the embryos in the past. All we need is an email in or a WhatsApp message or something, and I will get back to you with the pedigrees. There's also talk that you can't trust our DNA. At this stage, we're the only ones with the DNA, or it sits with the AWSBA in Australia. All rams for the last 2 or 3 seasons that have been registered have to be DNA tested. A lot of people don't understand DNA. It's not ancestry.com. It's just giving you a fingerprint of the animal that your DNA, which creates a pedigree the further down the track you go. At this stage, touch wood, Taddy hasn't had any ram that's been DNA'd that the sire was not correct. It is possible that we'll get one wrong at some stage. DNA is available for those that have purchased embryos from us, and that DNA will be supplied by Taddy. I won't be supplying it to any breed registry. That will come directly from Taddy, and if you want it in your breed registry, you will have to put it into that breed registry. Just remembering DNA is a nightmare for people that haven't got perfect records or watching lambs being born, or even to the stage of with AI and with embryo transfer. When you're using multiple rams, it certainly is possible for a sperm to get caught in a pipette, or for someone to mix a number up when you're got a lot of numbers going through. So there is a chance of getting something wrong. In saying that, the DNA will pick it up if it is wrong. So that's available directly from Taddy. That is about everything on the breed standards and what's been going on. So I'm happy to answer any questions if there is any questions there in relation to that, Doug.
Yeah, there's just a couple there, Graham, that we're getting here. Most of them very positive. That if you're watching the chat over there, most Americans are in totally support of you. There's one comment that's left there. Another one, appreciating the positive perspective makes a real difference. So appreciate those positive comments. You can welcome to keep those going there. But we also posted there too. Several have asked for your contact information, and that is there in the chat as well, on how to reach out to you to purchase or to talk further about any questions folks might have that they want to talk to you about offline. Graham, I do want to reinforce something to make sure that everyone's absolutely clear on. The other association, you've asked them to take down your Tadakil images, your branding, and the affiliation that is listed on the site, that they are the official association of the Australian Sheep Breeders Association. Just to be clear, all those things have been requested to be removed from the site and disassociated with them. Correct?
Yeah. Look. I understand there's plenty of good people within that group, and as I said, I just have to do that because of the actions of two of the founding members. That's the only reason that we've had to do it. I don't mind somebody having a gripe on something or a complaint, but how about they talk to me first before they go blurting it online? Nothing's ever perfect. I just don't. I don't want any association with it, and I didn't want it to go like this. But the more that they pushed, the more that I haven't got any choice. So, I understand there are still people that are on that breed society that are still buying embryos from me, and I'm not holding anything against anyone. It's just common sense that this can't keep going on. So yes, I have asked for that, and I suppose I'm not endorsing any breed societies, but I'm saying on that one, why would you want to join a breed society that's got two of their founding members that are openly attacking the breed online? That are silly, petty things. The other thing that we did was a part of our breed standards, and it was the very last thing that we put on, is at all times the purpose of a breed must not be sacrificed to the selection of one trait in isolation. So we're aware of all those sort of things when we first set the whole thing up. We're happy to provide that written breed standard to anyone. That's not a problem. We actually don't have it on our breed site in Australia anymore. We took it down because some of our members said, well, can you put together a photographic picture of what an Australian white should look like? So an ideal animal, and that's what I did. And now that's coming back to bite me again, which, that happens. But certainly, I do want all that stuff down. understanding it's going to take a little bit of doing, and it's not ideal. I don't understand what the advantages of what these two people have actually done. I don't know what they think the advantage is. It's negative information, and if you throw enough mud, some of it sticks. The only way you can answer it is just to ignore it, I suppose.
I did put up the Australian White Sheep Breeders Association website. You guys do have a lot of great information on there if folks want to learn more about the breed. And also, Graham, you have options. So not only joining Bobby's group, the AWUSA, you have an international membership in Australia, which we chose to do as well. So you can have a membership there in Australia and register your animals there as well as in the United States with the group that Bobby's president of, the AWUSA. So you got choices. There are options. There are positive things that folks can take advantage of either direction there.
We have international members in China. We have some in New Zealand, some in one in Costa Rica, I think. So there are other people that have joined to be part of it as an international member on the Australian one. But so that, yeah, I noticed somebody I've only seen some of the comments on. I'm not good at doing two things at once, but there was a question there on whether pigment relates to being stronger. Pigment, let's put the facts on the table. My preference is for dark feet and dark points. So nose, anus, vulva. That's my preference. But I do know people that have said that the dark black feet are much harder, and in some environments, they don't actually select for it. So my preference is certainly that. And if you look at the sheep behind Doug, which are used from here, you can see they're all dark in the nose. And anyone that wants to see some of our commercial sheep, we have lines of hundreds and hundreds of sheep where they're all got dark pigment through use of dark animals. If you've got one that comes up a little lighter in pigment, it doesn't make it a cull. It's probably got parents, well, it would have if it's an embryo. It's got parents that have both got dark pigment, and it might be a throwback to an earlier generation, but we weren't all at dark pigment until the last few years in our own breeding. So, yeah, I would say if it ticks the boxes everywhere else, I would keep it, join it. I wouldn't use a ram that didn't have dark pigment, but on a female, I wouldn't be culling females for that. So does it make them stronger? No. You would have less skin cancers in this country, which is an issue with the darker points. Skin cancer being particularly on the eyes, nose, and vulva is an issue with some of the pink breeds. So the reason for the Australian white being white was so that we have a skin that is of value in the future as a leather pelt that can be turned into any colour. If it's white, you can tan it any colour. If it's got any imperfections in it, it must be a black tan. So the advantage of that's why the sheep is white and not multicoloured. We have a line of these Australian whites that are 100% black that we call Martinmores, and they've got identical breeding. So if you push the boundaries one way, you can make them look totally different to pushing them another way. So it's not like, for example, a Hereford or a Mayan Jura has turned from being red and white to black and white. That's an infusion of another breed to cause that. But with the Australian white and the Martinmore, they are identical in DNA. They're the same animals, but we separated anything that went one direction to colour or black, went one way. And there is a possibility of someone coming up with a black animal. If it's a ram, tell me about it, because I get the semen back. I'm that keen to get a black one out of the Australian whites. Very unusual to come up with a black now. In the early stages, we had rams doing 15% that had colour being black. So when we talk about culling, we've done more than 40,000 embryo transfers on farm for ourselves. And in that, that's about 12,000 live females that we've produced. We only kept a small percentage of those. We've done the heavy culling here so that the breed is pretty consistent for anybody that's buying embryos. The hard work's been done. To suggest that it needs to be redone is laughable. There's no such thing as a perfect animal. You're going to get variation. That's going to happen.
Graham, a couple questions coming in, and maybe Bobby, this one for you on the. I know with the AWUSA Flock 54 is who you're using for DNA. Question about, is that acceptable? I think that's your only option, right?
That's our only option. That's what the association uses. And Flock 54 has done a great job with us. It's very reasonably priced. They interact with you. They answer any follow-up questions you have. The one suggestion, if you're doing your DNA testing and you've got a couple of stud rams on your farm or one stud ram, if you haven't been involved in DNA testing, test that mature animal, your ram and your ewes first. Get that logged in. They'll get that recorded. Then follow it up with your lamb crop, however many lambs you want to register or a DNA test. Makes the process a lot more simple. But Flock 54 has done a great job for us. You couldn't ask for any better. Very reasonably priced too. Not only do you get your DNA, your parenting, but included in that is about 18 or 20 genetic tests as well. So your codon testing and several other tests are involved in that too for the same money. So you can't go wrong by doing it. And it is a requirement of the AWUSA. Doug, we figure this is probably the best opportunity that the United States has ever had to improve the lamb market year round, 365 days to get a consistent market, 5, 8, 10, 12 years down the road. We still want to offer, the AWUSA wants to offer the same quality of sheep that we do now. And without the DNA testing, regardless what anybody thinks, without the DNA parenting testing, it will slip away from it. It'll get right out of your fingertips, and the integrity and the quality of the breed will diminish. That's why we're doing it.
Very good.
So, yeah.
Graham, there's a few other questions in there. Graham, I don't know if you're able to look at the chat there. If there's any that you want to address, some of them are somewhat similar. So I'll kind of let you kind of see if there's some others there that you might want to address here.
Yeah,
and we've got a couple of breeders we want to spotlight as well coming up.
Yeah, I haven't seen all of them. I'm only seeing some of them. On DNA in Australia, we only test the size because our numbers are so big. We would have lost a lot of registered members if we requested all the ewes had to be tested as well. I'm assuming that the DNA testing for parentage we're doing would cross over with anybody else's group that are doing it. I don't think there's any difference. DNA is DNA. So if you could think there's any of those questions that you could tell me about, Doug, because I'm not seeing them.
Yep. Another question, just staying on that same line of DNA, and Bobby, this is probably more for you to address, because in Australia there is no such thing as a breed up program. They're all purebreds over there. Someone's asking about what's required for DNA for your breed up program with AWUSA.
Breed up program for the AWUSA, of course, you have to start with your full blood, not a purebred, but a full blood ram. That's all you can use in a breed up program. A full blood ram that has been DNA tested and DNA recorded. And you use that each time over your breed ups. And the fourth generation F4 female, we will acknowledge it as being a purebred Australian white. Now the ram, even though you can breed it on 5, 6, 7 generations, the ram will never be a full blood. We'll never recognize it as a full blood. We'll never have a registration for it. So each time that you make a breed up move each year, you've got to use a full blood AW ram that has been DNA verified.
Back on the female every year, right?
Yes, back on the female every year.
Okay. Perfect. I think that addresses that one. Graham, a question. I'm scrolling back up. I think I missed a few here, trying to do too many things at once. But a person has asked about I think just a clarification. I could be incorrect, but didn't you have a problem with both associations at one point? Maybe I misremembered what I was told a while back. So I think somebody
Yep.
questioning, I guess, both associations.
That is a really good question. The reason that the second or the association that I've just taken my endorsement away from was created was because they'd had some issues with the other association that Bobby's in charge of. I've made it quite clear where my problem was there. The person that kicked that off, I still have some major issues with on lack of payment of invoices that he broke an agreement, and that's why I didn't have anything to do with that association. I don't hold that against anybody else. That's between Daniel Fagham and myself. So that was the reason that I wasn't involved in that, because Daniel had an agreement and he didn't abide by it. So he knows that. I know it. That was why I never had any involvement with the association that Bobby's now with. So that's pretty clear. Yeah, it might seem that I'm jumping around a bit. I'm a pretty stable person. I don't jump around. I'm still with the same bank that my grandfather banked with. I don't change. That's not what happens. But in this situation, it's been forced upon me, and I haven't had any choice. So that's the reason for that.
Very good. All right. I do have a couple of breeders. We wanted to spotlight both a small breeder and then somebody that's really growing to scale here in the U.S.
Before we go on to that,
Yep.
at some stage I'd like to go around the eating quality side of it as well. But we can do that after. Have we got time to do that after what you've got coming up now? Because that's pretty important.
I think we can hit on that. I want to turn this into some positivity around these breeders that are having success, and also the eating quality, which is, I think, what's drawn many folks to this breed, the Australian white sheep. Just ask Jay and Amy Cloud to unmute, and they're down in Kentucky, and these folks are kind of small. I would consider smaller breeders. And have just had some phenomenal success in terms of imported frozen embryo results from Tatakill and now live babies. So, hi, Jay and Amy. How are you guys?
We're good. We're good.
Hey.
Good.
Thanks for asking us to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and share with us a little bit about your kind of success story. Kind of talk us through like what you guys made an investment in and kind of where things are today.
Well, last year about this time, we was getting ready to take things to sale, and we sort of heard about F1s and didn't know really anything about it at this time. So we took things to sell, and we got in the truck, and we looked at our check, and we're like going, really? We did all this work for this? And so I'd heard of this guy by the name of Bobby Grider, and looked him up, and I called him, and sure enough, we talked for about 20-30 minutes, and then he invited us down, and we went down and spent most of the day with him. Matter of fact, I was there so long, I was thinking I was going to get supper. I was hungry. And but anyway, and then so it sort of planted the seed on what we wanted to do. And then he talked a little bit about an association, but he didn't, he just talked about it, but he's more or less pushing. I won't say pushing, but he was more or less exposing us to the breed and everything. And that meant a lot to us. So then we're traveling to actually, look at some sheep that we had purchased already. And we're on our phones, computers and everything. And we find a guy by the name of Doug Edge. Didn't know nothing about him other than, he was tied to Australian whites. And so actually started texting a little bit with him, and he texted us back. We went, wow, okay, this is cool. So moving on down the line in the summertime, we found out that we could buy embryos, and we actually, sorry, Dax, we bought 600, and somehow there was a mix-up, and we ended up with 6 embryos, and you got what you got. No. But anyway,
just joking. He's just a smart aleck.
So
I got the laugh. That was a good one.
So I hope you was able to accommodate them, seeing your facilities on your Facebook page. I hope you didn't have to build that because of us. But anyway, so we bought 6 embryos, and whenever me and Amy was like, well, we don't know what to do with them, and working with Doug and his group, they was like, well, we're all in, so we might as well go ahead and work with RSG. And we did the receipts deal, and we just trusted them to handle everything for us. And I'll have to say this: we scheduled a pickup day on New Year's Eve because of our schedule, and they accommodated us for that. And so we got our ultrasound sheet back as we're driving to a dog trial. We do herding with our border collies, and we opened it up, and we're like, I looked at Amy and said, do you count 5? And, because we went with the option that we're going to get 3. So we took the risk that we were going to do 50%, and we were going to do 3. So we got 2, 2, and 1. And so I looked at her, and she said, yeah, I count 5. So we emailed back and said, okay, we're counting 5. And he said, yeah, that's, pretty good averages. So we was all excited about that. And then when it came lambing time, actually 2 weeks ago, we ended up with 6. So we were 100% on the ground.
Yeah. And now, I want to pause you there just for a second, Jay. That's phenomenal results statistically. I don't want people to hear this and think, oh, wow, that's the norm. No. That is not the norm for frozen imported embryos. Graham and I are happy when we see that 50 to 55% take rate on them. So to get 100% is really phenomenal. That's why I told you when you called me, you need to go get a lottery ticket, because you guys are living right down there in
we
Kentucky.
Didn't, unfortunately.
Right. So that's the reason why I'm telling you, we were, I hope everybody understands, we were confident that we were going to only get 3. And so that's what we were betting on, was 3. And but we did that. And but we did have a little bad luck. We ended up losing 1 last weekend, and so we still, Mother Nature has its way. And but whenever for us, we got commercial Katahdins and registered Katahdins and everything, and they looked a little different when they were first born, and we
a lot different.
Yeah.
So it sort of freaked us out at first because they were just different, and it was just because they were different hair coat, real smooth, and you could see more of the structure of the sheep. And so we were a little, being first time to see them real up close, we were a little unnerved, but it's been great. Graham and Doug have been real supportive. Graham has reached out once, and we texted him that night at like midnight because we just come in from the barn and we was all excited, and he hit us back and expressed his I guess congratulations, where you go like that. So it's been a great experience for us, and now we're thinking about our next move on how we can do it again. Do it again.
Yeah.
Understanding that that was beginner's luck for sure.
So,
no, that's awesome. That's a great success story, and I think it's what I love about you guys is you guys are starting small. You're starting with a good number, and we have other people that are on the other end of the spectrum that are doing large scale things. This breed is really for everybody. You can have a lot of fun with this breed with just a few of them, or with several hundred of them, or thousands of them. I think that's the unique thing about the breed, is it really does fit a lot of different scenarios. So congrats to you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
glad to be a part of the family, I guess you'd say.
That's right. Yeah, glad to have you. Before we get back to Graham, I'm gonna get Dax on here. Dax, I'll get you unmuted here. Dax was on our Zoom we had about a month and a half ago. I think we kicked off and brought right before we brought the embryos in here, right after the first of the year. And Dax is one of our larger breeders of Australian whites down in Texas. Dax, I want to hit on recently, you consigned some bucks to a sale down there in Texas. Give us a little update on what you're seeing in the market and how things are going.
First off, thanks for having me again. And good to hear the story and success on those embryos. So last week, we took 2 rams consigned to the Texas Sheep and Goat Raisers Association stockman sale. It was the who's who of Texas Dorper breeders, and there were some Royal White breeders there as well. There was over 200 head of animals sold. The high selling ram was 3,400. It was a Dorper ram, and then we had 2 of our rams in the sale. They reached 7,700 and 10,000. A lot of looks from within the crowd. There was a lot of bidding going on, lots of interest. It wasn't just online, and there was multiple bidders online. So we've seen an influx of messages daily. I'm probably getting a dozen or so people looking for rams and ewes. If you do have ewes available, please use the Australian White USA page. There's lots of people looking. And right now, it's really a really high demand point, and there's not very many of these animals available. So if you have some available in your hands, go ahead and scoop them up. Right now, good rams, I would say, are worth probably five grand and up. Obviously, I don't think 10,000 is anywhere near the average, but we've been doing mainly online sales to see where the market will take itself. Ewes, last sale we sold 12 ewes or 11 ewes, excuse me, and I think they averaged 6,500 or 7,500 with 2 bred ewes in the sale, topping it at 12,000. Yeah, so the demand is good. The representation of the breed was extremely positive. I was blown away by the receptiveness from the Dorper breeders. Very friendly atmosphere. And I looked at that event as something that people on this call could put together one day. So something I see as a futuristic view, but 100% can be accomplished if we take this thing in the right direction.
That's a great update. And if you all don't know, you can follow Dax online. He's got a lot of great videos and information if you want to see what raising Aussie whites look like kind of on a bigger scale here in the U.S. I know you've got a lot of embryos that you put in this year and probably plans to do even more, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so so far we've placed 500 frozen embryos and over 100 of our own flushes. We've got another 240 embryos frozen to place in the coming couple months, and then we're going to flush a couple times here this summer as well. I do want to talk about that though. I actually was speaking to somebody on this call today, Jarrett Gregory. They had the exact same results as Jay and his wife. They went 6 for 6 with another embryologist. They did the research. They found somebody completely skilled. And this is the most important part. When I spoke to him today, his embryologist specifically said that these embryos are the best grading, highest quality embryos he's ever laid his eyes on under a microscope. That is the same exact information that my embryologist has told me. Both very knowledgeable people. They've both done this multiple times in their career. And that speaks volumes to Graham and his team and what they're putting in these tubes and shipping across the ocean. If you do have great results like Jay, and I have seen some people that didn't have good results, just know that it's roughly 50 to 55% lamb on the ground at scale. We have seen good ones. We have seen bad ones. But that is pretty darn consistent.
Yeah. No, and you bring up a great point, Dax. I want to also not leave this call without telling folks. Obviously, I'm tied very closely to RSG. We're supporting Graham and bringing these embryos in, but we do not care who puts the embryos in. You do not have to use RSG to put the embryos in. Dax, you've got a local guy down there that you work with, local vet. Just make sure they are qualified, they're experienced doing small ruminant reproduction work. And you'll get along fine. And we're happy to assist any of those vets as well if they need the thaw instructions. These embryos are frozen in glycerin, and if folks aren't used to that and dealing with that, that is a different thawing procedure. And if there's other things that we can help them with in terms of protocols, things like that, we're happy to share that information to anybody out there that wants to work with a qualified veterinarian and team on that. So I know we got just a few minutes left. I want to get back to Graham. We're going to wrap up on eating quality. Graham, kind of walk us through the real power of these Australian whites.
Right. So there's a lot of issues in the Australian white, and one of their biggest issues that we found early in the crossing was their eating quality. So we actually went to in a joint cooperation with 3 universities, Taddycool and the CSIRO, the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, engaged Professor Aduli Malou to conduct research with a full-time PhD student, Dr. John Otto. The data of live animals through muscle biopsies, which was an operation performed by vets, was taken over many generations to make sure that we had something that was heritable. So those samples were taken under sedation. They were frozen and sent into the laboratories where they were put through extensive wet chemistry testing and with a gas mass spectrometer, too difficult for me to even pronounce. The next generation sequences of single polymorphic DNA markers in selection for intramuscular fat, melting point, omega-3 long-chain polyunsaturated fats, and eating quality in the Atlantic Australian white were undertaken. We have had 7 peer-reviewed papers written. So to give you an idea, that's just the printed papers. I don't know if you can see those, but there's actually 8. These are all peer-reviewed, so they're not, you can't refute them. In that's cost many millions of dollars and many, many hours of work. What we have done with that information is we've used that information in our breeding programs to try and get as much of those qualities through the Australian white so everybody gains from that information. Taddycool has not used it to market individual animals. It's used it to advance the whole breeders for the sake of everybody. I have been asked in Australia about supplying the markers that we have found. So we have SNPs for those 3 traits. We have them, we've printed them, they're all there on the public domain. Nobody would think that we're silly enough to print what we've actually got without having that locked up. So we do have patents on those tests. Some have the idea that they have the right to use those tests and promote their sheep on that test. That is not right under the patent law. 20 years we have that locked up for. We haven't locked it up to make more money. We haven't locked it up for any other reason that in the hands of the wrong people will create massive problems within the breed. So, for example, the first thing people wanted from me is I want the marker that points to melting point and high omegas. And I said, the moment you push the melting point too low, then when the lambs have the carcass is stripped of the skin, it'll pull the bark off, won't stay on the fat. That film that sits on top of the fat will come off with the carcass and you have a major problem, to the stage that our Taddycool sheep are the softest that we kill for our Magra program. We have to slow the chain down so they don't strip all the carcasses and they come out looking a mess. So in the hands of the wrong people, it's very dangerous, this information. So that's the reason that we do have it under patent. for 20 years. We will have people that will decide that they're pretty smart if they print and try and market their animals of it and try and take it to another level. I don't think that's it won't happen. I've never sued anybody in my life, but that would not be the case if people steal a patent that we've spent millions of dollars on. And it's not just mine. I have licenses to Margaret Lamb, have a license on it, and they're a pretty big company, a lot bigger than what Taddy Curl is, and they will go anyone that breaks that patent. So that's the reason. I just wanted to spell that out. It's not a simple thing. It hasn't been done so that we're smart or anything. We know how to use it. We understand it all the way through, and it's getting to the stage that eventually it won't really be needed for anyone. We're getting to the stage that our scientists believe we're almost to the SNPs being, or those SNPs which are alleles, the pairs of alleles, are becoming almost homozygous, meaning they've all got a double copy of it. There's some single copies at this stage, but it looks like by the way we're breeding it and the way we keep testing for it, that they'll all end a double copy. Once it's there, a double copy, you don't need to be trying to push it anywhere else. So that's the story. And on the eating quality, I'm happy to answer any questions on that. I know we're running out of time.
Sounds good, Graham. Let me check the chat. And if you do have questions afterwards, we did post in the chat direct email and WhatsApp number for Graham. You're happy to also reach out. We've had others asking for the RSG website and contact information. I posted that there in the chat as well for you. So if you want to follow up with any of us, and then obviously the folks at AWUSA, happy to chat with anybody as well about their programs and breed registry information here for the U.S. So I think that looks like I think we've covered most of the questions here. Well, our feed stuff here in the USA, like corn and other grains, change the eating quality. We'll wrap up with that one, Graham.
It can. What you're feeding can change it, but what we've seen is the melting point and the omega-3s don't really change. We have a feed substance here that's been developed by Professor Dooley, and yes, we can change that with the right things being fed to them, but we don't need to change it. They'll do it on grass, and they'll also do it on supplements as well. So it doesn't change the melting point. That's genetic.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. I know it's top of the hour here in the U.S. We'll do more of these educational Zooms. Follow our Facebook page, cawg.us. There's also other Australian white pages out there here in the U.S. that you can follow. We'll share our information. And you can always stay up to date at cawg.us on the website. You can please post your farm there. We want to connect with you. It's free to do that. We want to have a place where breeders can connect with their other folks that are passionate about the breed here in the U.S., and also to connect with Graham there as well. So appreciate Dax, Jay, and Amy for being on, Bobby, Graham, for your time. I know it's coming up on midday there in Australia on Wednesday. So thanks so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your evening here in the States.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Doug, for organising it.
Thank you.